can. Thanks, Paul, for hitting recording. We are recording the session. We'll be sending it out to all our registrants afterwards. And we encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat box, send us questions all along the presentation. We welcome them. We will have a Q&A at the end of both presentations, so there'll be plenty of time to have a little bit of a discussion with our speakers. As with previous community calls, this live session is approved for one site-specific CEU. The course ID for GBCI will be shared for self-reporting in the materials after the call, so please look for that. And I want to thank you all once again for joining us today. And I would like to turn it over to our sites program lead, to Danielle, to provide some updates and to introduce our speakers. Danielle, the screen is yours.
Thanks, Anna Grace. Can everybody hear me? I think you can. Okay.
Sounds great.
Great. Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great fall and staying safe and healthy. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to start off, like Anna Grace said, with a brief sites overview for anyone that's new on the call, as well as maybe it's a refresher for those that are familiar with sites. And then I'll provide some updates and then pass it on to our excellent speakers for today. So the sites program is based on the understanding that land is a crucial component of the built environment. High performance landscapes have the capacity to protect and even regenerate natural systems, as well as improve our health, wellness, and quality of life. At its core, the sites framework was based on the concept of ecosystem services. These are services like water filtration, flood control, carbon sequestration, and climate regulation, and much more. Each site's credit was designed to protect, restore, and create these ecosystem services on a project, making it a perfect tool to help with the needed regeneration moving forward. And with concerted global action on land use over the next decade, nature can also be a significant necessary part of the climate solution, offering up to 37% of the mitigation needed to stabilize global temperatures, in addition to fossil fuel mitigation. So sites is centered around implementing these nature-based solutions, weaving nature back into our cities, communities, our project one at a time, to foster resilience, conserve resources, improve health, and much more. The main resources, if you're not familiar with sites, the left one is the Sites V2 rating system document, and that's a free downloadable document from our website. This is basically an abbreviation of the Sites V2 reference guide on the right, which is a more expanded volume and necessary document for going through the certification process, as well as for studying for the site's AP exam. There are 4 certification levels with sites, 200 total points. And you can see with the 4 levels, there's really a lot of room for getting engaged with sites and participating at whatever level you're at. It could be at the certified level all the way up to the platinum level to really challenge projects. There's 18 prerequisites. Those are mandatory credits for being eligible for the rating system, and then 48 optional credits. And we do say that if you ever have a project that you're interested in and you're not sure if it's eligible, to please reach out and talk to us. So reach out at sites@gbci.org, and we can talk through any issues that you might think you have with a project. I do want to also point out these are 3 pilot credits that we developed. These are outside the rating system, so they're bonus points available for section 10 of the rating system. The most recent one is the 3rd one here on the right, assess and improve site carbon performance. We did a carbon related community call back in July, if you want to hear the recording of that. These are all downloadable from our resources page if you're interested, and can be used again for innovation points in the section 10. And just to briefly go over the other 2, the first one was safety first. This is in response to COVID, how to and analyze the risks and safely manage and operate outdoor spaces in a situation like COVID or other pandemics that we might have. Hopefully none, but those are available there. As well as if you're a sites accredited professional and you're on a team that's pursuing site certification, you are worth 3 points on a team. So that's the 2nd pilot credit there. This past summer, we also released a tool to help with sites and lead project teams. It's really For projects that maybe are not familiar with sites and want to see how is my lead project getting me maybe close to sites, if you want to explore that option, or it could be ones that have already committed to doing lead in sites and a really early scorecard to help understand the synergies between the two rating systems for lead B, D, and C, and also calculate the points that might be available. If the project and lead achieves all the relevant credits that pertain to sites, they may be able to qualify for up to 65 points in sites. And if you remember back at the certification level slide, that's 70 points to get certified at the basic level. So 65 of those could come from lead. So there's a lot of synergies. We have many projects pursuing both at government agencies like GSA, university campuses, and other places. So I definitely recommend looking at this document to help with that. So to wrap up, I want to emphasize that sites is more than a rating system. It's implementing these global and local goals at a project level, facilitating development of regional action, as we've seen with places like Atlanta Beltline and the city of Austin, who have both adopted sites. It's also building a global community of committed organizations and professionals like yourself. So I do want to make sure everyone's familiar that we do have a Sites AP, accredited professional credential for those who might be interested. We do have lots of resources to help prepare for the exam. We have a study plan. We have some webinars. These calls are really a great way to get more familiar. Also, when you become a Sites AP, we have enough free courses on our website to help with credential maintenance. So really that should work well. And we also launched a community partner program to help with engaging organizations like academic institutions, nonprofits, government agencies, design firms, consultant firms. So if you're interested in that, please do reach out. Okay, so to date, we have over 240 projects that have registered and certified with sites covering 770 million gross square feet. That's covering 40 US states, 15 countries. And as you can see here, it's really developed to apply to a wide variety of project types. Here's a breakdown of the ones that are participating so far. And we'll see today that today's projects really truly demonstrate that versatility, creating habitat specifically for meerkats at a zoo or for a multi-generational residential community in Austin, Texas. So now I'm honored to introduce our excellent speakers today who will share their valuable insights and experiences with their site certified projects. So representing the Meerkat exhibit at the John Ball Zoo is Almond Forrester, who is the Director of Facilities Planning and Sustainability there. He's been with the zoo since 2000. He holds a degree in horticulture and landscape architecture and has over 35 years of experience in facilities and construction. He oversees the maintenance, building and grounds, master planning, sustainability, and is the security and owners representative of the capital projects at the zoo. He's currently serving also on the board of directors and was also past president of the Aquarium and Zoo Facility Association. Now, Shayna Kirkstra was also involved in the project and has been immersed in the field of sustainability for over 15 years, landing in her niche of sustainable material consulting. She has previously performed a wide variety of roles from accounting to project coordination for Catalyst Partners. Her most recent involvement has been on a variety of project certifications with a focus on healthy materials and biophilia. And representing Mary Elizabeth Branch Park, our second project on this call, is Claire Hempel. Claire is a principal at Design Workshop based in the Austin office, which is also the same location as the Branch Park. She believes that the most successful projects are those that serve people, communities, and the environment. She enjoys design and planning at multiple scales, from towns to regions, and is passionate about empowering communities by providing them with the tools to achieve their social, environmental, and economic goals. She has led projects throughout the United States and the Middle East and is highly accomplished in research, outreach, and programming. And now I will pass the presentation over to Almond to begin.
Thank you, Danielle. Well, we're excited here to talk about John Ball Zoo and our meerkat habitat. Shay and I started working on this project together back a while back, and we'll share a little bit more of those details on there. A little bit about John Ball Zoo. We are an AZA accredited zoo in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We have over about 600,000 people that visit us every year at the zoo. So this project here was something that we started out by trying to make a difference with what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. Kind of a cute picture there with the Meerkat. You see what the bubble comes in play with stuff. And yeah, I got some pretty cool photos on my slide deck. So we're a little unique for a sites project, but it's been pretty cool. We've been building green for a long time here at the zoo. We've built buildings up to LEED standards, those kind of things, but we never made an intentional goal to actually get a certified project. All of our dollars come from donations, and we wanted to use those donor dollars to brick and mortar, not so much on certification, but we changed that back a little bit ago by looking at going through a process for us. We went through an OPR, and speaking from an owner, and I don't know all the audience on here, but a lot of you guys are probably folks that try to help influence people to do more sites type projects. Tried to talk to the owners about doing an OPR, owner project requirements, to kind of set the fence post of what you're trying to accomplish as an organization. And when we did that, and we started to come out with things that said, yes, we want to be intentional about all of our major projects going throughout the process. And that led us to partnering with Catalyst Partners on looking at what we could do for different projects. This project started out with an old, the upper photo in the right hand, upper right, was an old lion and tiger exhibit for us. It's from the 70s. Back then it was state of the art, but the whole animal care and welfare has continued to grow. Expectations for proper animal care continue to drive in the right direction. So we felt that old habitat was no longer suitable to house animals. So we tore it down. You can see the photo bottom there, tearing it down. And then we kind of just said, okay, we're going to put an accessible pathway through this area. Before it did not meet ADA requirements. We've made an accessible pathway and kind of laid the ground there void for a year till we figured out what we're going to do with the next project. Oops, sorry about that. I got to try to go back up. See if I can go back up. There we go. So we started designing the habitat, which is in the lower left there, of how we're going to use the space, how does it work, what we're trying to accomplish. And this is the time we were finishing up that OPR with Catalyst Partners. And it said, you know what, we want to do something with this. So I go, what can we do with that? And they go, you know what, sites is something that that we think we can achieve, and something that'd be kind of new and exciting. And that's what we want to be, is we want to be on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. And it was definitely something well worth it. So we started to plan the project, and then sites kind of came in probably midway through design. But we brought in the project team. We have a construction management firm that really feels very strongly about sustainable efforts. And we brought them in to look at this project. I don't know if you got anything else you want to add to that, Shana.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention a lesson learned. You know, in these early design and planning stages, we were really undecided on which certification we wanted to go for. So once sites was decided, and this was our first sites project that we worked on, some of the credit requirements for the Section 2, we kind of were unaware of what was required, and we missed some things. So for example, I think it was credit 2.4. We didn't have all the documentation gathered from these design and planning early stages, so we did not achieve that credit. So that was a lesson learned, and now we know what is required for sites and how to kind of communicate in these early stages what's needed to achieve those credits. And then I'm going to continue with the organizational process that we went through. Like Almond said, the zoo is kind of inherently already doing many of these things required for certification. So sites kind of laid out a path for them to create policies and documentation to help tell their story. We broke down the credits and assigned them to the responsible parties and team members. We had a shared Google Drive and regular meetings and check-ins. And then we kind of conducted a final review of everything once it was all gathered. And like Alman liked to say, put a bow on it to make sure it was ready to go and be sent into GBCI for review. Gold or further was always the goal. And I don't know if you have anything to add for that, Alman.
Yeah, we submitted our first all the requirements in and got some rating back. It came in silver, and that was kind of during when the Olympics were on. And the CEO here told me, said, "Hey, everybody's going for gold nowadays. Can you get there?" And again, and that's where I encourage everybody to call the folks at sites, because they walked us through looking at what are some deficiencies we had. There were some clarification things we put in already that, you know what, oh, okay, that makes sense. And we could tweak on this side, and they could look at things differently on that side. And it came back that, yeah, we did do gold. And so again, I encourage folks to keep that dialogue going all the way through that with GBCI folks. They were very helpful at the beginning when we go, can we do this? They're like, yeah, you can do it. And sure enough, we could do it. But again, that open communication, having the folks to call and to chat with was very helpful and beneficial throughout the whole process. So one of the areas of focus that we wanted to talk about is our stormwater. Here at the zoo, we've been, again, doing building green for a long time and doing a lot of sustainable efforts. We've reduced our water usage on site in the last 20 years from about 75%, from 83 million gallons to 20 million gallons. And we changed our focus a few years ago towards stormwater. And we started to do everything with leaching basins and that kind of thing. So that kind of fit in with some of the credits towards stormwater. So we got rain gardens, those are easy, right? Leaching basins, which we've adopted as everything that we put in here at the zoo has a leaching basin. Whether or not the soil may be super conducive to it, we still do it for any kind of anecdotal benefit from it. But we also, when this process is going on, we were looking at our stormwater for a whole entire site. We are a 103-acre site with the zoo sitting in 38 acres of that. So that about that 38-acre microclimate, we took all that stormwater and now have it diverted to a nutrient separating baffle box by our pond down front, modified our pond edges a little bit, and now we're able to hold a 100-year rain event here on our site. So we sit in the middle of Grand Rapids, a large metropolitan city, and we can handle a 100-year rain event on our site. So that was pretty cool, pretty successful. And again, that goes right along with sites is promoting, and we love to keep going on that journey towards stormwater. Another thing that we focused on was community engagement. Again, a lot of cute photos, right? You can't but love these little guys. A part of our core values is conservation and education, and we want to be a zoo for all. So trying to have people not only engage with the habitat, but also the meerkats to play. I'll get on it a little bit later. Is very important to us. So again, people can pop up in a bubble to kind of see the meerkats right there. We also, that little girl up there on the upper left there is an area that we just took the rock work, kind of pushed in a little bit and try to make it an area that people that are in chairs can get closer to the animals. Again, it doesn't take a lot to make sure you're including everybody. You just got to think holistically as we're going along through it. And these guys are very playful. So the whole thing of having parallel play with popping up in the bubbles, inclusivity and education, something that we take very strongly, and something that kind of fit right in with sites, and especially in the education and promotion of what we're trying to accomplish here. Another one that we were very successful on is that all our plantings for the whole the whole project is all native plantings. Even our green roof on top, that's completely all native plantings, and that's the first of a green roof that we know in our region of all native plants. Usually it's a sedum or a very drought tolerant type plant, but we're really trying to be creative and be reaching here for that. And nothing is irrigated per sites, so there's no irrigation there, relying on Mother Nature, and being successful with that. One thing about some of our native plants that we actually had a local organization collect seeds from the surrounding area and grew plants for us. So that's a pretty cool farm to table idea of trying to get not only plants are native, but they're like locally harvested to get us going in that. So again, another good success for us in the planting regime there. One part is as you go through sites, you're listing all your stakeholders, and you're having stakeholders meetings with different groups, right? Some of the community or board members or staff, all that kind of thing. But we have a unique stakeholder in this. It's the Meerkats. So trying to meet their needs throughout this process, we're able to have different elevations in the exhibit, different substrates. We have areas that they can heat and cool themselves. So, this little area for shelter, that's a heated area over here. So get a little bit cooler time, they can go into those areas there. But again, trying to meet their needs is very important. And we got to make sure they can't get out, right? So there's some good dig barriers. Those guys like to dig going throughout that habitat. Go to the next slide here. Sorry, just trying to get the switch slides and it's not going slides. We'll try it this way. Oh, there we go. Sorry for the delay. Another thing is that people are important to us. Community is important. And we have some even, culture, which maybe not exactly in line with a couple of things. Something we do here as an organization is that any major habitat, we commission with a local artist to create artwork that we go and put in with our habitats. Again, culture, community is all things that are very important to us. So adding some of those little elements there. And again, as you see, kids do like interacting with all those different elements. And the coolest thing is that for us is that we're the first zoo in the world, to get site certification. So that pie chart you saw a little bit ago about what different things, I don't know if we're in the other or not. And hopefully someday there'll be actually a pie wedge for zoos or other cultural attractions like us, because again, we have a big audience. For AZ accredited zoos, more people come to our organizations and as a whole in the country than all the combined professional football, basketball, baseball, and hockey attendance. So we have a big audience. We can tell a story. We can reach a lot of people and be impactful for kids as they come along and grow up and learn great stuff. So I don't know if you want to add even more to that, Shana, or not.
No, you covered that pretty well, Almond. Just the whole education and getting people to understand what sites is all about is a very important part of this.
So what's next for us here at the zoo? We're already looking at our next project for sites, and we did work with Catalyst Partners on this site certification, but we feel that we've got gained some pretty good knowledge that we may not need them for the next sites project. Well, so sorry, Shana, but we'll still keep you in the loop on some of those. But that goes to the idea that I think this is achievable and attainable by a lot of different organizations. It's not like it's super hard because everybody wants to be successful. GBCI wants everybody to be successful in this and help us along with that. I've already got other zoos that have been kind of knocking on my doors. How'd you guys get it? I'd like to do ours too, because really lead does not fit very well for animal habitats because it just doesn't. And this one does fit that niche to help us achieve goals and give that label of, hey, we achieved that green certification on that. I like to see that carbon neutral goal that sites is kind of going after. We as an organization want to be carbon neutral someday, 2035. We actually our night quarters in there actually has no CO2 emissions. So again, this was designed with that kind of stuff in mind. And also this is our first, green certification for the zoo. But it helps us to allow some framework and some groundwork done for other type of stuff that are going on. We're actually right now working with Catalyst Partners, and we're building some stuff in our front entry and living building challenge through the IFLI. So we're building a pygmy hippo habitat for that. So 35,000 gallon water exhibit, underwater viewing. We just finished a a restroom building. And with that stormwater I mentioned, we are looking at how we can actually grab that stormwater back out, clean it back up and use it for gray water flushing of public restrooms as well as animal habitats here. So we're really excited about that, going in here for the future for other type of certifications for us. So with that, I will pass it to Claire. Unless you want to add anything else to that, Shana, while I'm doing that.
Very good.
All right. Thanks, Alman. Looks like I've got control. So we're going to zoom on down south to a very different part of the country. I'm here with Design Workshop. My name's Claire Hempel. I'm a principal in our Austin studio. Design Workshop's a 52-year-old firm. We do planning, landscape architecture, and urban design. And we've had the great opportunity to work with Catellus, who is unfortunately not able to be on the call here today, but Catellus is a developer here in Austin and was our direct client for this Mary Elizabeth Branch Park. Okay, there's just a little bit of a delay. Couldn't get enough of the Meerkat photos. Sorry about that. There's just a little bit of a delay. One more. So I wanted to start by talking about where this project is within the Mueller or Miller development. I have to teach myself to say Miller. This is a development right outside the downtown and University of Texas area of Austin on the east side of 35. And this was a partnership between the city of Austin, who had owned the property, and Catellus, who is the developer. So they have created a P3 or a public-private partnership to develop this site. The development began in 2004, so starting to break ground, and they weathered the recession, sorry, the word escaped me, but have come out very much on the good end of it with what has been built out today. So this was the former airport. Our airport is now located in even further southeast of the city. So this area sat vacant for a long time and was ripe for redevelopment as the city was growing rapidly and development happening around it. So the idea, and Design Workshop did not do this plan, this was done by McCann Adams Studio. This is a transit-oriented, mixed-use and mixed-income community, and it really is a community. It's become one of the best areas to live in the city of Austin, which is incredible, knowing that this was not a brownfield, but essentially an industrial site before. So the entire development is home to 5 LEED Platinum certifications, 9 LEED Gold certifications, and 7 Silver LEED certifications. And so the pursuing of sites for this park was of a lot of interest to the developer Catellus. So I wanted to give a little bit of background about how they even came to pursue some of the LEED certifications. Gail Fattori, who was a LEED or is a LEED fellow and former GBCI and US GBC boards chair and member, worked for an organization called the Center for Maximum Potential Building Systems in Austin. And she was the one that encouraged the Miller team to apply for the pilot program of LEED for neighborhood development, noting that the rating system would help to provide a concrete, actionable guide to meet their ambitious sustainability goals. And you can see that having played out over the past almost 20 years. They eventually achieved LEED for Neighborhood Development Gold certification and became the largest Stage 3 LEED ND pilot project Gold certified in the world, at least at the time this article was written. And they have made a commitment to creative solutions like solar panels and photovoltaic outdoor art, commitment to native vegetation and trees in all of the common spaces, and district scale stormwater management system. And they've diverted more than 63,000 tons of construction and demolition debris from landfills as of 2016. So that number has just continued to go up. So a background about why sites was important for this park really folds into the bigger story for the development. So zooming into our site, this is a 3.5 acre site in the heart of the newly created town center. So we're just east of the Dell Children's Hospital, which is a big job creator for not just the community, but the city as a whole. So design workshop worked with Catellus and stakeholders on the vision plan for the park in 2015. And sites, even at that early vision planning stage, had always been an important goal for the project to achieve. The project broke ground in 2017 and officially opened right before COVID. So it's we've been able to see it in action and people enjoying use for a couple of years now. The park responds to its adjacent context. So we have a mixed use development on the west side, which is plan left on this page. There's a mixed use development with retail on the ground floor. We have apartments on the north side and single family townhomes on the east side and south sides, along with another mixed use that is currently under construction and coming close to being finished. That being said, we have a lot of different people using the park at different times of the day that we needed to plan for. From apartment dwellers who need a backyard to you have a lot of young professionals who come out and play volleyball and have a space for their dogs in the dog run. The single family townhomes, we've created an adjacent play area on the east side of the park. And we have a really beautiful pavilion that just finished construction a couple of months ago that hosts events, including the farmers market. I did want to give a nod to the namesake for the park, Mary Elizabeth Branch. I encourage you to look up her history. She's an amazing leader and inspiration for the city. She was a prominent leader that made a lot of change at the Tillotson University, later named Houston Tillotson, that the city wanted to honor. So here's a shot of the old airport and where the site sits within that. This is not that long ago, 1995, it was still active or starting to wind down. And our, if I could back up to one, I did want to point out that there is a runway that ran right through the site, which did lead to some design inspiration. So the elements within the park, we have our Prairie Hill with a green roof comfort station or restroom building that also has our water feature equipment. The very large water feature here, we have a stormwater capture system that captures all of the runoff from the site before it goes off site. So we have a lot of native plants cleaning the water. And then we've got native plantings throughout the entirety of the park. Here's a shot of it kind of freshly built, so you can see some of the plants are still growing in, and those have really taken off at this point. Pretty amazing to think that there were 0 trees on this site. There was no environment, there were no birds, there was nothing. And now we have an ecology, we have an ecosystem on the site. People out enjoying this area every day of the week, all times of the day, families, young professionals, people just visiting. I love this shot of some neighbors coming to enjoy the space. So this area feels comfortable for you to go out and have a private moment or have a larger group within this 3.5 acres. Here's a shot of the green roof on top of our building. And here's the berm. I'll talk about that in the next slide. But did want to point out the stormwater. You can see this arrow kind of sketched in here that points to where it comes out before it goes off site. Here's a shot of the interactive water feature. This has been hugely popular and a great way for the community to have a pool-like feature without having to have a pool. Very important in Texas in the South. So no lifeguards are needed, but this is, I do want to mention that this is all circulated water, so there's not a lot of water waste. That's why we had to have such a big pump equipment area and storage tank. This is a really great feature that was part of one of our sites credits. Is there is an existing 10,000 cubic yard soil dump site. As the rest of the development was going under construction, a lot of the dirt would get dropped here. And instead of hauling that off, which would have been a huge cost and a lot of carbon emissions, we decided to turn it into a feature. And so this side of the berm, you can see the building is nestled into it, is planted with native plantings, which are beautiful all year round. And the other side is a viewing mound where you can sit with a blanket and kind of see everything out to the north part of the park. This is a shot of our stormwater system. You can see the native plants are very, very happy. They've just taken off incredibly. And we have a playground that is for our younger kids and older kids alike, with the airport and the airplanes having provided some design inspiration for the play features. Signage, this was again part of our site's credit, but it helps to explain the stormwater ideas that were present in the design and construction. And we're really excited to have worked with the city of Austin. They have a parallel Austin green rating system, and we worked with a gentleman in the city who was very interested in the site's process to what the city may use in their own rating system. And in fact, we offered tours of the site after it was done in conjunction with building, the mixed use building across the street, which had achieved LEED certification. So I'll hand it back to Danielle, but I want to, in case it's a question that comes up, this park did achieve site certification. So we met the 70 points.
Well, thank you both. Thank you all for your presentations today. Those are really, really wonderful projects, so many layers to them. And Danielle, I'm going to field Q&A to our presenters. And I would like to encourage anyone as travel increasingly, as we hope becomes safer and more accessible to all, that we put these two projects, these two destinations on our list. We have some questions that have come through the Q&A. We encourage everyone to ask, take advantage of the folks that we have on the call today. Any question, all questions are welcome. I would like to begin with a question about innovation credits. These are for both projects. I think, Claire, since we've just heard you speak, I'll start with you. Did you pursue any innovation credits within the site's rating system? Which ones? Can you share anything about that? And maybe after you answer, Alman and Shana could share as well.
We did pursue an innovation credit, and the tour that we did in partnership with the city's showing off of the Austin and LEED certified building across the street kind of creates this almost eco district. And so we built from that for an innovation credit.
And we did pursue a biomimicry innovation credit, which did not go through, but we did attempt to do it.
Thank you. I'm wondering maybe, actually, if I could skip to appealing credits, then, since you mentioned that, Shana, if you have any advice to offer other project teams who are looking to appeal credits during the review process, strategies, success stories, challenges, maybe?
Yeah, one of the credits that we appealed was credit 8.4, which is the plant healthcare plan. The first couple rounds of review, we kind of put it together and didn't understand everything that was required for that plant healthcare plan. So we had the call that Alman mentioned with you guys to just kind of walk through what exactly was required and what we didn't meet to get that credit. So we actually had created an even more robust plan that was accepted for that appeal process.
And I could just chime in, just making sure if anyone hasn't gone through the review process, what that looks like. So each credit, we say, has 2 rounds of review. And after each round of review, the GBCI reviewers will send back a report that details out what's been earned and then what's pending. And then whatever is pending, we provide technical advice about what was not clear and what is missing documentation and what we'd like to see in the next round. So there's another opportunity to then submit for a final review as well. And then we do have an appeal process. If after those 2 rounds of review, if you're not happy with it and you're really wanting to get those points, you can appeal the review and go through another additional round. And we do offer calls as well before and after reviews if you do want to understand kind of the technical advice given back to you or anything like that. So just want to share that for anyone that hasn't gone through the process.
Yeah, and I'll jump into what Danielle said, because we took Danielle up on those calls to learn more, get into the details, answer questions about some of our credits, and we ended up appealing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 credits that needed further information, more clarification, answering questions. I don't believe that we achieved all 7 of those, but by appealing, we were able to get certified. So for our project, it was really critical because it was such an important initiative, not only for Design Workshop, but for our client and the community as a whole, is to have this park achieve certification.
I wanted to ask also, I'm going to jump ahead of the question queue here, if the audience doesn't mind, because we have a varying degrees in experience with the sites program here among you panelists. And Alman, you mentioned with a lot of confidence that you wouldn't need any additional services for your next sites project. I'm wondering if both projects could share what maybe came up during the certification process. What efforts did you make, or what aspect did you pursue that maybe you wouldn't have thought of without this framework?
I don't know if I can answer all those in one concise thing, but I think I'll start a little bit with the I think we could do kind of, go alone maybe next time, is that you don't know what you don't know. This is something that's kind of a new system for folks. I think we all know what points are all about, but it's some of the language, it's some of the clarity as we keep talking about the appeal process. I want to again mention that GBCI is really very working with folks to kind of talk through things, and that's the kind of thing, because a lot of things that we're doing, and as who was going through the process, I was working with Kalish Partners, I kept going like, I don't know if we can do this, I don't know if we can do that, and they go, you know what? You guys already do good stuff. You've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. It's about how do you package it? How do you talk about it? How do you make it relatable? Because folks don't know us, right? And you're trying to present who you are, what you stand for, your philosophies. So it's about just crafting it in a way that it's a language that's spoken all the way through. So I think that's the part that makes it easier for next time, is that we kind of know some of the terminology. We kind of know some things that are being asked for. Some things are surprising, a little bit on that one. I think again, I'm glad you're offering that carbon thing now, because it wasn't much about carbon, I saw earlier on, which I thought was surprising, but now it's getting more into that. And I think also the way I wanted to highlight the art thing, the culture thing. So what parts can you get points for adding art or cultural type things to your project that speaks to community? That's something that I thought there would come be more of that maybe wasn't. So I don't know if that answered your question, Ann, a little bit more, but that's my shot at.
I'll just piggyback off that. I mentioned the plant healthcare plan, and they didn't really have anything in place before that. They just kind of had what they did. So just documenting that in more detail really was something that they probably never would have thought of doing before sites.
Yeah, I think we were doing everything that the plan was asking for to do, but we just didn't have it all in writing, which is good to have a policy in writing, because again, that is transferable to the next horticulturists we have. So it makes it more institutionalized versus relying on a good person who knows what they're doing. So.
And now they can use that for if they pursue another exhibit for sites.
Yeah, for us, one of the outcomes as a result of sites was a creation of an operations and maintenance manual, which we did for this park, because it does have a lot of intensive use, and that's a really important tool for Catellis to use with their maintenance company, as people have grown to expect a certain level of care for this park. But it also comes back and helps an easier handoff if you have to change maintenance companies, or somebody new has to replace a plant. Like, all of that information is right there in one place. And I don't know if that would have been done or not without sites, but I know that the accreditation certainly pushed the team to do that. And then I really appreciate how sites helped our team in design solutions. Like the big berm that's there, I can't say for certain if that would have remained if sites hadn't been a consideration, but you can turn those potential, oh my God, what am I going to do with that, to the, hey, this is a really cool feature.
And I'm just going to add a couple things. I think these are great comments, and I love hearing just how it might have established a policy or maintenance plan. The one thing about carbon, the pilot credit is about assessing and quantifying carbon, whether it's reduction in emissions or understanding how your site is a carbon sink, but quantifying that. So that's the pilot credit. And then within the rating system, it's really spans multiple credits in terms of reducing carbon. We have in the construction and the maintenance section about reducing emissions in the construction equipment that we use, or maintenance equipment, or and how we conserve land and as carbon sinks and then restore. So there carbon is throughout it, but not necessarily in terms of quantifying it, which is a really important next step in really understanding how these landscapes are really important in terms of just understanding how we can reduce our emissions, as well as just foster these landscapes to be more like carbon sinks. So I think that's a really important part that pilot credit demonstrates. And I love hearing all the tidbits about culture and art. Yeah, I think I think those, when there's opportunities when they don't exist, innovation is another opportunity to submit new ideas.
Thank you, Danielle. The next question is for Claire, and I want to make sure, Claire, that we get a chance for everyone on the call to hear it. And it was about if there's been a formal public life study of the Mary Elizabeth Branch Park. So if one hasn't been done, are there plans to do one that capture usage over time or establish benchmarks that can be used throughout the city?
It's a great question. I'm not aware if one has been done. That's not to say that Catellis may have commissioned that, but we really like to capture how spaces are being utilized after construction is done and punch list is completed. One thing that I've seen as the park gets lived in is some of these kind of artistic pieces that I think were temporarily housed in the park. One of them is this really beautiful kind of free library that was done, and I think that now has a permanent home in the park. So it's kind of great to see how people are using it. But maybe after the park ages in, the pavilion's been in for a little bit, we can come back and maybe there's a case study, Landscape Architecture Foundation, kind of after the fact, kind of research done.
Thank you, Claire. Danielle, do you want to offer any final comments? We've reached the bottom of our question queue. Please, anyone last minute, if you have something to add, please feel free. Otherwise, Danielle, maybe I would ask you to close us out.
Okay, yeah, I think just one last question. I think some of our attendees might not have gone through the sites process or have talked with clients and haven't just gotten that right project. And so just any tips that you have in terms of how to engage a client who is unfamiliar with sites and even the benefits of outdoor spaces as to the degree of that you all are, and just also once you are on board, like some of the tips on how to just go navigate the system and get started.
I'll start, and then I'd love to hear Almond and Shayna's perspective. But we like to talk about possible site certification on projects when there may not even be a construction project immediately on the horizon. For instance, we're working on the Zilker Park Vision Plan right now, and we've talked with the city about the what if this park ultimately was going to be site certified, and starting that planning process now and thinking about those credits and even pre-scoring to see how the project might fare as a way to get a client interested in the potential, and then being able to speak to the benefits of why.
I think as an owner, I think it's always good to know the things that are differentiators, things that can set you apart from somebody else. Again, everybody's really familiar with LEED, and LEED's almost the point where at least in our area, you can't build a building here in our community without being base LEED, just because all of the different codes have caught up to that, right? So I think the way to encourage other owners is say, hey, to be part of the group that is helping lead the pack and be a little bit different, and about how community and outdoor spaces are very, very important, especially down during COVID, right? I think everybody's looking more as the outdoors as being that new safe haven area, how you can take that and launch it into something that's even more intentional, I think, as a way to kind of convince owners that this is the way to go and to keep relevant.
Yeah, I'll just add that, like Almond said, kind of most people know about LEED now, that are trying to build and become, have a green certification. And this is just a unique way to say, well, have you thought about sites for your project? Because you're not really a building, you're something else more unique. So just looking at different options for them based on their needs.
Well, thank you. Those are great responses, and thank you all for sharing your time and your energy going through this whole process. I know there's a learning curve, and thank you for your leadership, really from the bottom of our hearts. We really love these projects and working with you, and look forward to more of those. If anybody has questions after this, feel free to email us and we'll try to get these to the speakers, but you have their email addresses here as well. So I'll just take it from here and wrap up. And just one final slide. Again, another Meerkat shot. So thank you again for joining. Our next call, our last one for 2021 is December 8th. We did recently change the date, so please log that. And if you are going to ASLA, do get in touch with us to let us know if you're going to be in person. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your week, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.